there are many more of us saying, this is not what we want to be as a country. This is not who we are as a people. And I think there'll be a lot more of us than there will be of people preaching hate tomorrow.
1 week after a deadly incident in Charlottesville, Virginia, thousands of people on both sides of a very divisive issue will gather in one place while officials do everything they can to make sure the clash of ideologies remains peaceful. Hello, I'm Chris Costa in for Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. Mainers for Accountable Leadership is raising money for a nonprofit called Life After Hate, which helps people who want to leave behind hateful ideologies. Some of them are traveling to Boston tomorrow. They hope everything remains peaceful.
When we heard about what was happening in Boston, we felt like it was our responsibility to try to counter that with a compassionate response.
That's when activist groups in Maine launched a fundraiser for a group called Life After Hate.
We don't hate anybody. We're just proud of our race.
The group helps people distance themselves from hateful ideologies and is co-founded by people who used to discriminate. Some call themselves formers.
Black people are criminals and inferior.
People who used to be white supremacists, neo-Nazis, or part of other hate groups.
Don't be deceived by these lies like we were. It's not too late to get out.
We don't go out and actually try to pull people out. We think of it as planting seeds.
Angela King is one of the co-founders, a former skinhead who lost that identity after a kind interaction with an African-American woman in prison while she was serving a sentence for a hate crime.
Some of them treated me very humanely, and I didn't expect that. It disarmed me. They did not let me off the hook. They held me accountable. They asked me really tough questions, but obviously, prison, you can't get up and run away from those kind of questions.
Boston police have plans in place to prevent any violent clashes, and Mainers have trained in de-escalation techniques.
We know that it can happen. I think every one of us is prepared. We are all committed to peace and peaceful protest, absolute and total commitment to nonviolence.
There were things subconsciously that I really had to work on.
Angela, who is traveling to Boston for the rally, says that simply letting hate groups know that there is another option can help.
The individuals who see that, they're never going to be able to get that out of their minds.
So the Mainers plan to carry a giant banner that looks like this. They plan to have about 200 Mainers in Boston, and so far have raised more than $6,000 for that group, Life After Hate.
Banner will obviously be
4 feet by 6 feet.
So, all right. Yeah. Because of the violence in Charlottesville, there is a concern that tomorrow's rally in Boston will go down a similar path.
But the rally organizer says this event is not about hate. This rally is about free speech. He told NBC Boston a few days ago that hate groups were not welcome.
We absolutely denounce the KKK, neo-Nazis, Identity Europa, Vanguard, all of these legitimate hate groups. We have nothing to do with them.
And you don't want them here?
We do not want them here. If they want to come, they can have their own rally. We don't want any part of it.
And the event's organizers say this event is all about free speech, but sometimes there's a fine line between free speech and hate speech. The American Civil Liberties Union, one of the most notable advocates for free speech, says there is not a clear legal definition for hate speech. In a statement, a spokesperson says the ACLU has a long history of supporting the right to free speech, even when it comes to speech we abhor. But the First Amendment must never be used as a cover for violence.
Now, as a parent, it can be difficult to explain where different ideologies come from or the violence that occurred in Virginia and why. We wanted to get a different viewpoint on the recent rhetoric, so we had a somber sit-down with a few middle schoolers and a mother. What does it mean to be kind?
It sort of means to be like open to anybody's emotions or like how they feel and to like respect them.
Making sure everyone feels comfortable with other people, not feeling like they don't like have anybody to talk to.
Do you think we're all different?
Yes.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
What makes that a good thing?
You wouldn't be able to make like new friends and stuff if everybody's the same. Meet different people with different personalities. And
anybody can feel like the way they want to, I guess, and sort of like they don't have to be like the person that they can be any person they want. So.
How do you guys feel if you see somebody being a little bit mean to someone else?
Of course, it's like hard to stick up for them, but it's the right thing to do.
So how do you know it's the right thing to do?
Because you don't want others to be sad or feel not wanted, or yeah, just you want them to feel welcome.
It's kind of like people will know that and have a good thought about you and be like, oh, that kid's a good kid. I want him hanging out with my kid or something like that.
So it's actually cooler.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cooler to stand up for somebody than to bully other people.
Jillian came down and that was on the news the other night, and then Barcelona was on the news last night, and thinking, oh my gosh, every night we have to have this discussion. And I think it makes kids nervous about the world, and they forget that there are also really nice people, more nice people than not. So it's constant discussion.
But how do you know the right way to treat people? Is it something you were taught, or is it just a feeling?
I feel like it's both.
Yeah.
In elementary school, they always teach you about kindness and respect and stuff like that towards other people. And then you'd think that if you saw someone being bullied, that you'd probably want to do the right thing and help them out and stand up for them.
We always make sure that that's at the forefront of their mind when they're interacting with other people, is that you need to respect where that person's coming from.
Is there any difference between you guys and anyone else you go to school with, anyone who might have a different color skin or a different religious background?
Just same exact person, just different personalities and how we live and act.
So you were with me for that sit down, and it was very, very interesting to kind of sit there and talk to those kids and get their viewpoint, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so, especially because it seemed like they had said it wasn't something necessarily that they were taught by their parents. It was, but it's also something that they just instinctually kind of knew how they treat people. So maybe all the discussions that many of these parents feel they do have to have with their children, maybe it's something that instinctually they already know. I'm not sure, but it's interesting to hear their viewpoint on it. Yeah.
Right, and their response is, they're just my friends. We all interact the same way, and we all play sports together, and we have similar interests. If we have similar interests, we hang out. If not, we don't hang out.
Yeah, I think that was the most eye-opening point for me when they realized that it was everybody just being people, not seeing a discriminatory line in one way or another because of a skin or religion or anything like that.
Always interesting to talk with kids. All right, let's switch gears to weather here.
Sure.
Because we're losing the sunshine, but not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, Keith, it sounds like we actually needed this rain.
We did, for sure, especially along the coastline. That's where we're getting some of the heaviest stuff. Southern coastal Maine has seen the heaviest rain today, pouring most of the day, Falmouth and points southward, basically, and into the mid-coast. You can see the light rain going on there. Heavy bands setting up, again, just to the north of Portland here through the 295 belt. So we're seeing about an inch or so of rain from some of our weather watchers so far. And there's more to come through tonight. Expect tonight will be rainy, particularly along the coastline. A little bit of fog is possible as well. Here we are at 11:30, Rockland, Bar Harbor, seeing heavy downpours in here. And it continues through the early morning hours on Saturday over down East Maine before this lifts out. I actually think Saturday's not a bad day. Just be aware it won't start off all that nice. There'll be rain, there'll be clouds, and then by midday through early afternoon we start to clear out. And as has been the case for the last 11 weekends in a row, Sunday looks like the better of the two weekend days. That actually looks pretty nice, and temperatures will get into the 80s, so we'll be in good shape at that point. Temperatures right now in the 50s and low 60s. We won't actually bottom out that much tonight because of the low clouds and the rain tending to keep temperatures a little bit more level. Guys, a lot to talk about in the extended forecast. We had a shot at 90, and of course we'll talk about the eclipse forecast because nerds around the country are uniting in excitement there.
All right, Keith, thanks so much. And that rain causing some problems. Traffic backing up on 295 south between exits 8 and 7 in Portland. A crash involving a crane and a passenger vehicle on Tukey's Bridge causing those delays. It's a developing story, so we will keep you updated on air and online.
I want to acknowledge that we have now received word and confirmed the death of one American citizen in the terrorist attacks in Spain.
The death toll is at least 13, and an American citizen is among the dead. Police now believe the van attack in Barcelona was coordinated by a terror cell operating in Spain, and raids are underway as officials search for those responsible. 2 suspects are already in custody, and others were shot dead by police.
Steve Bannon may have been one of the most controversial fixtures of the President Trump administration, and now he's out of the job. The White House spokesperson says Bannon agreed that today should be his last day. The former chief strategist's nationalist policies were increasingly controversial after the violence in Charlottesville, Virginia.
All right, when now returns, we need some help solving a local mystery. Katie Ortiz will show us the clues.
And we have some furry friends joining us in the studio. Stay with us on Facebook Live because we're going to be playing with kittens and puppies right now. Well, we've been talking about it all week long. Clear the Shelters is an event that's happening tomorrow. 7 main shelters are involved, and obviously the whole point is to get you to adopt a furry friend, rescue them from a shelter.
Yeah, we're joined by Steve Dostie with the Greater Androscoggin Humane Society out of Lewiston, and a couple of furry friends. You guys can bring the kitties over. It's totally fine.
So, Steve, who do we have here today?
We have Ernie. He's a 8 to 9 month old Golden Retriever, Labrador, Hound mix. We're not 100% sure, but he's a cute little guy.
You are a sweetie. You are a sweetie. And then what about the cats we have? Oh,
well,
my
we
goodness.
have Katniss and we have Thompson, and they are 2 months old, and they're ready to go to their new homes.
Very, very
Oh
cool.
my goodness,
So
you
tell
have
us
a
a little
lot
bit
to
about this
say.
event. I mean, you guys have you been part of this in the past, and how has it helped, and how will it help?
Absolutely, it really helps a lot. We can, the advertising that's been out there, people know what's going on. They can visit the different shelters. We're in Lewiston, so we're able to have quite a few animals up for adoption. We have over 42 kittens available for adoption, and their adoption fee has been reduced to $100, which is more than 50% off. And all the other dogs and cats that are adults, their adoption fee is waived. So we're really hoping that people will come in to visit and help us place the animals throughout the whole state of Maine.
So talk a little bit about that. If someone watching right now wants to adopt an animal, what should they do?
Well, they can come to the animal shelter tomorrow. We're open from 11 to 6. And being a big adoption event, we might have a long line to start off with. So the best thing to do is maybe come a little bit earlier. And all our adoption procedures are in place. All the animals are all spayed and neutered. And then they have to do adoption applications, and then we'll have one of our counselors sit with them and talk about a particular pet.
So how do you know what kind of home might be best for a rescue animal, a shelter animal?
Well, every dog is different, so it depends on their personality and so forth. Each of our adult dogs have been evaluated and to see what type of temperament they might have. Would they be good with children, or would they be good for adults? And this Ernie here would be great for our older children, maybe if they're 10 years and over, because he's a little bit rambunctious. And also he's just learning. He's a little teenager now, so he needs a little bit more guidance than, let's say, older dog. Okay. And the kittens, they would fit in almost anywhere. These guys are quite outgoing and quite friendly.
How do you know if you're ready to adopt? If someone's watching this at home and they're thinking, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence here, how do you know?
The most important thing is to make sure you are ready. So if you're not really sure, maybe come visit, chat with our counselors, chat with our volunteers that are at the shelter, and that might help you understand, are we ready, not ready? If you're not ready, then maybe it's time to wait a little bit longer. And the thing is, there's always animals up for adoption.
Always good to chat with someone ahead of time, though, to kind of figure out what works best for you?
Absolutely. If you actually want a pet and so forth, maybe instead of a kitten, you might think about maybe an adult cat. That might be a good way to go.
All right, cool. Well, we really appreciate your time, Steve. And ladies, thank you so much for sharing some furry friends with us. Stick around for during the commercial break, because we're going to hang out with these guys for a little bit longer. Let's move on to some more videos, because how can we not? All right? Hey. Still to come on
Typically
now.
throw things away. I decided not to.
There you go. Hey, memories preserved even when they aren't hers. Why this woman wants to find the owner of this photo album.
And the rain is going to let up anytime soon, we're hoping. Keith will have his full forecast after the break.
I know as a mom of 2 kids, that if I had done that, I would be super happy if someone could find me and return those pictures.
Amanda Hill, I heard you like mysteries.
I love a good mystery.
Well, we have a mystery on our hands that needs solving, and we are going to need you guys at home because you may recognize these faces. You just saw Rachel of Wiscasset talk about returning pictures. Well, she found a handful of baby photos and family pictures from back in the 80s, and she wants those memories in the hands of the rightful owner.
You just open it up like this, and then you put either your flower or your leaf in here.
Rachel Henson was on the hunt for something you don't really see as a tangible item these days.
And then these close on it, and it preserves them.
A photo album. Not this kind, and she found it at Goodwill in Brunswick.
My 8-year-old son was flipping through it, and because he wanted to see what the old-fashioned like photo albums look like, because we live in an era where everything's on the computer.
But it's what they found inside that's most likely not on any hard drive.
And he goes through it and he's like, what are these? Are these pictures that come in them?
Laughter, family, memories left behind. Now Rachel is on a mission to make sure these moments are never forgotten.
The first thing I did was I uploaded it and I made it public so that people could share it.
All she has to go by are dates and first names, and she's relying on the sharpest of eyes that may recognize these young faces and find their home.
In a world where people just typically throw things away, I decided not to.
Have Rachel's contact information on our website after the show, as well as the pictures, that way you guys can get a closer look at them.
Yes.
Isn't it like, okay, we talked about this earlier, it's kind of bizarre to think about that the only way that we used to have access to photos was to have just the physical picture.
Right.
And that was it.
Right.
Those are
Well, I kind of miss that a little bit.
I
do.
I do too. It's nice to have a photo album you can kind of flip through.
Yeah. It's just like, it's just tangible, it's physical, and you know, I feel like it kind of makes it that much more precious, you know what I mean?
Scrapbooking. Everyone on House Hunters scrapbooks, apparently.
Oh.
You ever watched that? They're like, I need a scrapbooking room. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Scrapbooking room?
Yeah. That happens all the time on House Hunters.
Oh.
And they're like, we have a budget of $1 million. We don't work.
Yeah.
I want a scrapbooking room.
Scrapbook Reese's.
Yeah, exactly. Since I didn't bring them. All right, we got some heavy rain out there right now, particularly over southern coastal Maine, but I think it'll shift. The heaviest rain will into the mid-coast and down east Maine as the night goes on. But certainly right now you can see where those heavier bands are drifting through eventually, through the Brunswick area and through Belfast and eventually getting into Camden, Rockland and Bar Harbor. Rainfall amounts, now this does include what's already fallen, just so you know. But, we're looking at some big amounts here. And the computer models continue to be hot and heavy on Bar Harbor. That has yet to get all that much rain. So we'll see how that plays out as the night goes on. But pretty much all the computer models think there's going to be a bullseye out here over down East Maine, where the drought is at its highest level. So this is the drought as of Thursday, and you can see moderate drought all the way down south of Portland into northern parts of York County. So the rain is falling in places that need the rain the most. You can get out of droughts early, you're much better off. It's hard to get out of them later. They're not linear, they're kind of exponential in nature. So obviously raining through the rest of tonight and even the first couple of hours of Saturday. I think Saturday's a decent day though, with some sun through the middle part of the day and just an isolated sprinkle in the afternoon. Sunday looks good as we get drying winds in here. We start with a little bit of cloud cover, but I think we end up mostly sunny. And then Monday and Tuesday look really nice and hot, getting it on a southwest flow. Hour by hour forecast showing you the heavy rain through tonight. Here we are at midnight through tomorrow morning, still over down East Maine. But we do clear out through the middle part of the day tomorrow with just a few sprinkles behind it. And then again, Sunday looks pretty good to me. I think it'll actually be sunnier than this is depicting. And temperatures will get into the low 80s, maybe some mid 80s away from the coastline. All right, we're talking a lot about what's going on with the eclipse. And the eclipse forecast, as far as cloud cover, is still looking good. So the green here, guys, is your cloud cover. And you can see for the most part, we're talking about far northern Maine, and maybe the mountains have a little high thin cloudiness, but most of us should be in good shape for the eclipse. And don't start, I mean, they already get the Halloween candy out and all that. Slow your roll, okay? 84,
Thank 86. There's somebody who agrees with me.
Maybe 90 on Tuesday. So yeah, it's summer's not over yet. And September has some hot days typically as well. Showers likely on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday look pretty decent at this point. And again, I think inland will probably hit 90 on Tuesday. So I had a picture guy at Home Depot put out some snow blowers.
Saw that, yeah.
In Portland, and yeah, the Halloween candy. Now, I love Halloween, but still, let's just...
Did anyone else notice that Ernie had a Halloween collar on.
No, but we're not letting him leave. He's still back there.
Yeah, we have held them captive because
Just
we're
for
not
now.
done with them yet. We're not done.
So very, very quickly, though, Keith, I wanted to ask you about the rain that we are getting. You know, we did have a problem earlier on as far as like drought. How much do you think this patch of rain will help that?
It'll help. Roughly, we'd probably need 4 or 5 inches of rain at a given time to fix it. So we'll probably go back to abnormally dry if we get this rainstorm in total. But
Abnormally dry. Okay.
We won't be out of it though. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Good to know.
Thanks, Keith. More news ahead at 5:30.
Rob Caldwell will be the man behind the desk, and he has a look at what's coming up. Hi, Rob.
Hi, guys. There is new upheaval in the Trump White House. This time, the president's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, has been fired. A lot of the president's critics and people on the left are celebrating this as a move away from nationalist policies, but some conservatives say the president is burning a bridge and ordering a cold one to help preserve military history. You'll see how a brewery in Brunswick is helping that the upcoming air show will give its cause a much-needed boost. Those stories and more all coming up on News Center at 5:30.
All right, thanks, Rob. And now continues in a moment.
All right, today's brain drops, eclipse.
Right.
People are really into it. Got a lot of emails about something that I thought would be kind of a niche question, but I don't think it is in Maine, which is, can you use a welder's shield and visor for viewing the eclipse? So, you know, a lot of people have those around here. And so this is a perfect likeness of me, first of all.
That's 100% you.
Arm sticks
Watching the eclipse.
Right.
The basic answer here is, for the most part, you can't use one of those. Because you cannot.
Okay.
Because there's certain levels of darkness on these shades. So did a little research on it, and you need a shade 12 or higher. And so if you're not clear what level shade you are, from everything I found, these are uncommon. So, you know, 13s and 14s are kind of special order level darkness. And so most people have 7 to 9 for normal welding, which means that you can't do it. So if it's under a 12, it is unsafe, which seems counterintuitive because this looks so like much more serious than the little plastic things you're getting from Amazon or Home Depot. But the bottom line is it's not quite dark enough on there. So just be careful because people have done some damage to their eyes. Another thing here is you can still do the ones that you learned in school with the pinhole and the cereal box and all that.
Which we did.
So now for me, it's not as gratifying.
Right.
Because you're seeing a shadow of the whole thing.
Of what's happening.
But it's technically still the safest way to do it because there's a big run on these eclipse glasses right now, obviously.
Now they make goggles.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Same thing. And by the way, adding the numbers doesn't work. It doesn't work with it. If you had a 8,
don't do goggles and
8 and a 5, that doesn't
it's not
equal.
13.
It's not good enough. So just it's something I got a lot of questions about. Wanted to address it for people.
Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
Keith. Thanks for joining us. News Center at 5:30 starts right now.